Hey everybody, thank you for checking out the podcast. I appreciate it. This is James H. Williams here, reporter for the Orange County Register and the Southern California News Group, covering UCLA football. The football team coming off a big win over LSU over the weekend. I've had a chance to do a couple radio interviews over the past couple days since the win over LSU, talking about UCLA football, and this was one of them. I was able to sit down and join SportsMap Radio to talk with Fred Davis. So I'm going to play that segment for you guys here. We talk about UCLA football, of course, and some of how things shook out with some of the players on offense and defense. Running back Zach Charbonnet, the standout of the group so far after the first 2 weeks. We also touch on UCLA basketball a little bit, and we also talk about UCLA's partnership with the Jordan brand and Nike and what that can do for the athletic department going forward. So without further ado, thank you for listening.
This is SportsMap All Night with Bill Schmidt on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Bill Schmidt.
All right. Billy Schmidt out tonight. Don't sweat it. Your boy Freddie D, Johnny B holding it down. Let's jump out to the Progressive Hotline. Welcome to the program. Covering all things UCLA, including UCLA football for the Orange County Register. Please welcome to the program, Mr. James H. Williams. J-Dub, glad to have you on the program. Let's get right down to it, man. I mean, listen, I'm not going to be there and say I told you so guy, but I'm going to go ahead and be I told you so guy. I wasn't overly surprised by UCLA and what they were able to do on Saturday. I mean, listen, if we're getting right down to it, Chip Kelly is a better coach than Ed Orgeron, and in year 4, it looks like this is a team that you can finally start to see the fingerprints of Chip Kelly's recruits, game plan, and just his philosophy is finally starting to take hold over there in Westwood.
First of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Finally is the word. I've been covering the team since early on in 2019, so it's a kind of a drastic change from when I first got there. And just to see Chip Kelly's recruiting and what he's been able to do with the transfer portal. I actually wrote a story this past week about how the transfer portal didn't really work in their favor right away when they had 42 players depart, including 2 5-stars, one of them that got drafted in the first round to the Miami Dolphins in Jalen Phillips. But, they've gotten 17 guys that have headed to Westwood, and a lot of them are contributing on the field. One of them that's really stood out over the last 2 weeks is running back Zach Charbonnet. He played here in LA and decided to come back after a year with the University of Michigan. Britton Brown, the Duke transfer, was here last year and shared time with Demetric Felton. So they're used to having a 1-2 punch over the last 2 years, and Chip has his guys, and he has it going. So it's all good here in LA as far as the Bruins are concerned, if you ask anyone in the fan base.
I'll tell you what, you mentioned Britton Brown, and I'll tell you what, some guys, when you watch them play football or whatever sport you're watching, they just look like natural, like they were meant to do what they're doing. And watching that game Saturday night, Britton Brown just looks like a different dude. I mean, yes, like you said, you got a good stable of backs there at UCLA, but Britton Brown's just got a different wiggle. He's got a different kind of way he carries himself. This guy looks like he could be playing on Sundays before it's all said and done.
Oh, yeah, both of them can, but for sure Britton Brown. Britton Brown is definitely a different dude. There was one instance where an LSU, I'm assuming it was a linebacker, I don't even remember, tried running up the middle where Britton Brown was coming through, and it didn't go well. And I tweeted out immediately after, like, you don't try to tackle Britton Brown one-on-one. If I'm on the defense, I'm getting out of the way. I don't care how big of a game it is. I'm not getting in Britton Brown's way.
No, I mean, listen, he definitely brings the physicality than what you're used to seeing, certainly right now. And then you get a guy like a Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who, again, he doesn't have – I mean, listen, no one's going to get him confused for being like a straight drop back, 25, 35 times a game. But I'll tell you what, he's got some nice wiggle to him. And again, he throws a good, solid football, especially for what you need in a Chip Kelly-type offense.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. And I think they stuck to the game plan pretty well. That was one thing I was kind of expecting them to do was, they got two standout corners for LSU on that defense with Eli Ricks and Derek Stingley Jr. So you didn't want to throw a whole lot of the deep balls, but they did make the most out of their tight end, Greg Dulcich, who's the roommate of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and also their slot receiver, and Kyle Phillips. Both of them had touchdowns, and so they really kind of worked the short passing game there. And I don't know why LSU decided not to tackle on Saturday, but they let those guys break off for some big runs and some big plays. And again, the offense, Chip Kelly knew what he was doing. This is the second game at UCLA with the visor. The visor's back, hasn't been around since his Oregon days. So the visor's back, Chip Kelly's back, and the Bruins are as physical as ever, which is pretty funny considering Coach Ed Orgeron had called them sissy blue shirt guys prior to the game. So
no, that little exchange went viral, and of course,
yes,
I saw that you guys on your UCLA football page, they've got the sissy blue shirts now that they've got coming out, and of course, the question is going to be, are they going to wear them on this upcoming Saturday when Fresno State comes to town? But let's call it what it is. So, this is, and again, Chip Kelly, no stranger to success, has had some comeuppance, if you will. I mean, listen, for as great as he was at Oregon, got slapped around in the National Football League. And, again, it's been kind of a slow burn here at UCLA. Now you're starting to see, oh, by the way, we forgot Chip Kelly, for as much as we love high-paced offenses, this guy was doing that back when, it wasn't a thing quite yet. And we talked about how he was going to revolutionize the game. Now you've got UCLA in a position where in a Pac-12, let's call it what it is. All right, I mean, listen, we saw Stanford get their asses handed to them over the weekend. Washington's losing to FCS schools for crying out loud. I don't think your rivals across town, USC, I mean, yeah, they looked okay. But, I mean, listen, it wasn't like they looked like absolute world beaters on Saturday. In a conference where the Pac-12 is in dire need of somebody to really take hold of this thing, much like, Clemson's done in the ACC, Ohio State's done in the Big Ten. Dare I say, can UCLA be that team?
I think UCLA can be that team, at least this year. If you look at their defense, it's mostly made up of seniors. 4 fourth-year guys, fifth-year guys. There's 5 fifth-year guys and 2 sixth-year guys. So it's there, and that's been the talk all along, is this is supposed to be the year that it all comes together and it happens. If you look at a guy, again, like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, was more or less the guy Chip Kelly has rode throughout the 4 years, going into this 4th year. That's been his guy. You have some other guys that have developed along the way, but, they're in a win-now mode. I mean, it's sometimes I kind of find myself thinking, what will it be like next year? And that's maybe a little bit scary to think about. But for this year alone, I think, if they can get past some of the other ranked teams that they have coming up, when you look at an Oregon, which they, to their benefit, they have at home, and they made a game with last year on the road, even without Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But, then you got USC, you got Arizona State. So, I'm sure they can't sleep on any of those other teams. I mean, it's only week 1. It was only week 1. Everyone comes out a little bit rusty. This was the second game for UCLA, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson didn't look all that great in his first outing, even against a Hawaii team, completing 50% of his passes. And turnovers are going to be huge for what they do going forward. Last year's stat was they had 13 turnovers. 12 of them came in losses. So, they had one turnover last week or on Saturday, and they didn't have one in the first game. So if they can kind of control the ball, and I think obviously when you're just handing it off to your running backs, those guys aren't going to be dropping the ball very much. So, whatever they got going on, it's working. And as long as they don't stray away from that, they're actually on a bye week this week. So if they don't get too big-headed and they kind of stay with the game plan, and Chip Kelly seems like he has a bunch of hard hat guys who are willing just to get back to work even after a big win, I think they'll be okay.
No, and it certainly looks like that, too. Real quick, I got to switch over to basketball real quick. And listen, okay. I mean, Mick Cronin comes in, and, UCLA, this is a basketball program that, like I said, I mean, this is, again, you guys are no stranger to success, and certainly it's been a program that has had, has been good, not great here as of late. How impressed have you been, and how surprised have you been with the level of success and just kind of how Mick Cronin has kind of taken over this program so quickly?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I was also there for Cronin's first year and seeing him kind of, work with who he had and And a lot of those guys are actually the guys that they took this big step. And I think it was just kind of, when you're first getting a new coach in that first year, much like Chip Kelly, you're trying to figure out what you have and who you are and figure out your strengths and your weaknesses. And I think that's what the first year was. But then they take a big step last year. And, there was no way anyone could have predicted them going as far as they did. What was it, coming only a shot or two away from being in that finals or whatever. So, the expectations are high. I expect them to come in as a highly touted and highly ranked team. Ideally, I would think in the top 5, if not in the top 3. But, just things at UCLA in general are looking pretty good. They have a new athletic director. I talked to him a couple weeks back, and the thing he said was, hey, we're ready to compete and we're ready to be elite. And that's the model they're running with. And so far, things are looking that way. And basketball has all their guys coming back, too. You got Johnny Juzang.
I was going to say, Johnny Juzang coming back's big.
That was big. And he made him wait a little bit. I think he held him up to the deadline. I don't want to say held him up, but had him up to the deadline,
right.
I think, for that draft. But it was obviously good news for him coming back, but everyone else is coming back as well. So, again, much like football, who had everyone come back from that COVID year except for 2 seniors, I think this Bruin team can make another run, but obviously they're not under the radar like they were last year. So a lot of teams that they will face are going to give them their best shot. I know they made it a point to get that match with Gonzaga, or that game with Gonzaga again, because they want that revenge. They want another crack at Gonzaga. So we'll see how that one shakes out early in the season.
And, of course, I'll get you at it with this. Maybe the best aspect of UCLA, especially nowadays, you guys went from being a ragtag Under Armour school and, nobody with any self-respect wears Under Armour, and now you guys have the Jumpman on your chest. Everything's right in the world now that UCLA is a Jordan school.
That's absolutely right. And again, that's how you get the visor back on Chip Kelly's head, because they had Oregon had Nike when he was there, and you come in Under Armour. He said he didn't like Under Armour visors or whatever the case was. So you get the visor back on Chip Kelly. That's going to help you in recruiting. You're going to have, they're going to want to wear Nikes. I'm seeing just, the photography department, or within the athletic department, they have Jordans on and stuff. Everyone's wearing Jordan at UCLA. So everyone's suited and booted in Jordan and Nike gear. So that's going to be big for recruiting, obviously, going forward. And if they continue to win and pack the Rose Bowl like they did, obviously LSU traveled pretty well for that.
They did.
It's going to do well, and I think we're going to start seeing that. They kind of tease that someone has already committed for football today. We never actually got any announcement on who that commit was, but that's a perfect sign of when you start winning games.
Yeah.
You get a partner like Nike and Jordan. You're going to start getting some recruits coming in your way.
That's it. Well, J-Dub, my man, I appreciate you coming on with us again. And like I said, tell the folks at home real quick, because we're definitely going to have you on again, because like I said, I'm going to be watching this UCLA team all year. Tell the folks at home where they can find you at on Twitter and where they can find your work at.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate it. You can check out my work at orangecountyregister.com, and you can also follow me on Twitter or any of your favorite social platforms at JHW Reporter.
JHW Reporter, I'm following you. Everybody else should too. I'll tell you what, my man, enjoy these next 2 weeks, and we'll do this again real soon.
You too, my man. You have a good one. Thanks for having me.
There you go, brother. There you go. All right, my man, James Williams. Great stuff from him, as always. And like I said, we'll have him over the course of the year talking all things UCLA.
And there you have it, my segment with Fred Davis on SportsMap Radio. Had a good conversation with him. Look forward to being back on there again sometime soon, talking UCLA. With that said, if you guys enjoy that, let me know. I've been doing, like I said, a couple different radio interviews over the past couple days and whatnot. So throughout the football season, we're still early. It's only the first week. UCLA did play week 0. So if you guys do like hearing those radio interviews, hearing me talk about UCLA football, feel free to reach out on social media, on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. You can follow me at JHW Reporter. And I'd be more than happy to hear from you guys. And let me know what you guys think. If you guys want to hear more of this kind of content, I'd love to provide it for you. So with that being said, again, thank you guys for listening. Feel free to like, subscribe, and be sure to share it with your friends, wherever you guys may be listening. I appreciate you guys listening, and I hope you guys have a good one.